is a pretty difficult raid. It does a lot of things that can give you a lot of trouble. The main thing is its ability. Today, we're going to be using the ability Unaware and the move skill swap in our builds to deal with its ability. Another thing it does is it cleans the player at 60% time. We're going to deal with that by splitting our setup. We're going to do a small setup in the beginning of the raid and then a longer setup in the middle. The other thing it does is it can paralyze or confuse you. We're just going to deal with that very easily by using a Covert Cloak. And then the last thing it does is it cleans itself. We're not going to be playing that game. We're just going to focus on boosting things from our side. The key point in the raid is going to be at 60% time remaining. This is not an easy raid. You are not going to be able to turbo through most of this. You have to pay attention. So make sure at the 60% time mark, we're expecting the player cleanse. We're staying at full health so that we're ready to get our second setup going and mitigate damage as soon as possible. These are the three builds we're going to be using today. Clefable and Espathra are going to cover most of the types. I only recommend using Mew if the Pokemon is a steel type, since Espathra and Clefable, in my opinion, are superior to Mew against this raid. I threw in a Miraidon just in case there are some people watching this who can't get access to a Mew but can get a Miraidon, but I still don't think Miraidon is as good as Espathra and Clefable. But I haven't tested Miraidon extensively with neutral damage. I've only tested it with resisted, and it works with resisted, so I suspect it might be just as good as Espathra. Now, the Clefable, in my opinion, is the superior out of all four of the builds we're talking about today. Clefable and Miraidon are the only Pokemon that don't have to use skill swap on turn 1. Clefable's Unaware ability is going to negate Kilowattrel's stat boost for every turn in the raid except for the one that it cleans you. Now, what you're going to be doing is, well, first of all, for the entire raid, if you get under 60% HP, you should use Draining Kiss. The only exception is if you don't have any stat boost. You should be at least +1 if you're going to get a significant amount of damage out of and healing out of the Draining Kiss. So, first thing you're going to do for the first setup, you're going to use Calm Mind 3 times. Then you're going to alternate between Moonblast and Draining Kiss until you can Terrasilize, and you can Terrasilize as soon as you can. After you Terrasilize, you're going to spam Draining Kiss, and the reason is you want to stay at full health when Kilowattrel resets your stats. Because on the turn where Kilowattrel resets your stats, it's going to negate your ability and hit you with a +6 move. So we need to make sure that we are at full health when that happens. After that, you're going to get your Calm Minds back using Draining Kiss whenever you have to, and then once you get to +6, you're going to go back to alternating between Moonblast and Draining Kiss, and at that point, it won't be long until the raid is over. So for the rest of the builds in this video, you're going to want to avoid certain allies. We're going to, first of all, make sure we're offline, then we're going to save our game, because what we want to do is reset until we have the allies that we prefer. For this example, we're going to say we're raiding with Espathra, and Espathra does not want any Intimidators, okay? That's the important thing with Espathra. I'm not going to hit challenge alone, I'm going to make sure I'm offline, yet again. I'm going to hit challenge as a group. You want to make sure you're offline, because if you challenge as a group online and then you run the way I'm going to recommend you do here, you're going to do two things. One, you're going to be a dick to other people online. You're going to create lobbies that aren't actually going to go in battle. And two, you're going to possibly get yourself timed out from being able to join online raids. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm just going in and I'm going to see if I have the allies I want. Remember, I'm going in with Espathra, and for Espathra to work, I need to not have any Intimidate allies. There we go. So we're good, okay? But let's pretend that we do have an Intimidate ally. If we don't, then we're good, we just battle, okay? Like, we got what we want. This is actually a perfect team. It's got both Gardevoir and Bellibolt. That's amazing. But let's say it's a team we don't like. We would hit home, since we can't run, right? If we try to run, we can't, because we challenged as a group. But if we challenged alone, you know, we'll be able to run, but we can't. So instead, we'll go here, and again, make sure we're offline when we're doing this. I went to the home, I hit the Y button to change user, and then it asks, do you want to close the software? That's the goal. I close the software, and then I go back in here. And then here, we're going to repeat, right? The game's going to open, we're going to be right back where we were when we saved, and we're going to go in, challenge as a group, over and over until we have the team that we want. First of all, before you raid with either Espathra or Mew, you're going to make sure that you do not have an Intimidator ally. So reset until you do not have an Intimidator ally. At any time during this raid, if you're below 50% health, you're going to go ahead and use Roost. Turn 1, you're going to use skill swap, otherwise competitive is going to become a big problem very fast. Like Clefable, you are going to start the raid with 3 calm mines, then you're going to spam Lumina Crash until you can terrestrialize, but you are not going to terrestrialize until you are set up for the second time. So at this point, Kilowattrel is going to clean you. It's also going to hit you pretty hard that turn, so you may want to make sure you're at full health during that stage of the raid, going into 60% time. But after Kilowattrel cleans you, you're going to go ahead and sneak in your calm mines as soon as you can. And then once you're set up and you are at full health, because after you get your calm mines, you're going to go ahead and heal up to full health, then you are going to terrestrialize and start using Lumina Crash, alternating between Lumina Crash and Roost until you finish the raid, which shouldn't be in a lot of time. You should still have a good chunk on that timer left over. If you faint once in the raid, you'll probably still be able to beat this, as long as you don't faint while you're terrestrialized. That is what's key here. Mew is going to work very similarly to Espathra. I would only recommend using Mew against the Steel type because it is very close when you're using neutral damage. Just use it to cover what Clefable and Espathra can't. But like Espathra, we are going to reset until we have no Intimidate allies. We do not want them to proc competitive before we can get rid of that ability. So turn 1, we're going to use skill swap just like Espathra. But then we are going to use Amnesia just 1 time, then Swords Dance 2 times, then we're going to spam Drain Punch until we can terrestrialize, at which point we will. We're not going to wait on Mew. Then we're going to continue spamming Drain Punch until Kilowattrel cleans us of our stats at 60% time, at which point we're going to do our bigger setup. We're going to do 2 Amnesias and 3 Swords Dances. And then at that point, we're going to be able to turbo spam Drain Punch until we win the raid. So for my version of the Miraidon turn order here, I highly recommend resetting to make sure you do not have Arboliva as an ally. Its Seed Sower ability is going to ruin the strategy. I am running Terrain Extender on Miraidon, but that's not going to mean anything with Arboliva as an ally. But anyways, once you have the allies you want, at any time during the raid, you're going to use Parabolic Charge just to heal up. I did demonstrate against a grass type, so if it works against a grass type, it'll definitely work against that lingering steel type. Anyways, we're going to start the raid by using Calm Mind 3 times, then we're going to spam Parabolic Charge until we can terrestrialize. We will go ahead and terrestrialize as soon as we can, and once Kilowattrel cleans us at 60% time, we're just going to reset those original 3 calm mines, then use electric terrain, and then we're going to go back to turbo spamming Parabolic Charge until we win the raid. Smash that like button and subscribe.